So today we had some major announcements that are going to significantly influence the price action for Tesla stock moving forward. And look guys, we have to talk about it because some of them are negative catalysts, some of them are positive catalysts, and some of them are kind of like double-edged swords that we absolutely have to talk about. Now last night we got the announcement that Tesla is slashing the Model Y prices in Canada after already having some recent price cuts in Canada already. So now with the recent price cuts, the Model Y has the same starting price in Canada as the Model 3 sedan. Now, of course, this causes a mixed bag of concerns because on one end of the spectrum, this definitely hurts the profit margins on Teslas as, of course, they're much more cheaper, and it also causes some frustration for the individuals who recently bought Teslas. I mean, imagine buying a car and just a few weeks later, it's significantly cheaper than when you just bought it. And so there's some frustration there, but then on the other end of the spectrum, you have individuals saying, well, look, yes, it's bad in the short term, it hurts profit margins, but at the same time, it also crushes the competition, which is good for Tesla to continue growing its market share in the EV space. For example, we recently had the earnings from Ford, and now Ford is pulling the plug on its EV strategy as we recently saw that losses are piling up still in the EV sector. And now one of the people from Ford said that our Gen 2 vehicles won't launch unless we could get a profit and return on that capital that we're investing there at the pricing environment that we now understand is reality. We know that we have to get the electric vehicle business to stand on its own and be profitable because we know that there are competitors out there. And so again, price cuts for Teslas are kind of like this double-edged sword because in the short term it's bad, but at the same time it's causing the people at these legacy auto companies like Ford to really kind of rip their hair apart because they are still losing, and we know that there are these government incentives to go ahead and continue pushing into EV vehicles, and these legacy automakers, they are far behind and they're having to actually stifle their plans on continuing into the EV sector. And so it's kind of seen as like a positive thing at the same time, but of course there's still a lot of frustration about that. But we also got another piece of an announcement today that's pretty interesting for Tesla, and that is the fact that Tesla is looking to mimic one of the themes from a lot of the tech giants, trying to revive billions of dollars that were lost in value over the past 6 months. Now, that theme that we believe that Tesla is mimicking from the tech giants is pretty much layoffs and job cuts, which is actually something I touched on in a recent video, saying how we're starting to see a lot more rolling out of layoffs and job cuts as we're going to be bracing ourselves for pretty much a lot of companies looking to trim to make themselves look a lot more attractive. Now, Andrew Challenger, who's a senior vice president consultant at one of these firms that tracks all this data, recently said that these layoffs are a driver of broader market economic trends and a strategic shift towards increased automation and AI adoption. But he also said that in most cases, it's companies pointing to cost cutting as the main driver. Now, the reason why we believe that Elon Musk is doing this is simply because there was this report that suggests that Elon recently asked managers to define which positions within their reports are critical to the group's business, which kind of implies him just asking, well, who are the valuable people that we absolutely need to keep? And so this idea kind of makes sense, especially when you consider that in their recent earnings call, they said that deliveries would be notably lower than 2023 levels, and also a lot of Wall Street analysts trimmed their revenue forecasts, and so job cuts are likely inevitable. And although I'm not a fan of people losing their jobs, of course I don't want hardworking Americans to have to look for another job, especially as we're still rolling into the new year, but this is seen as a positive catalyst for Tesla stock, according to, these analysts who are, pretty much making up their models and looking to see Tesla reduce their costs to go ahead and look much more attractive going forward. Now, there is another positive catalyst that I want to go ahead and share with you guys. However, before I do so, just a friendly reminder that if you have not done so already, consider tapping that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any future uploads. And of course, also just a friendly reminder to check out the links in the description below, because one of the links is going to be a link for my free weekly market pulse insights, where every single week I send out an email talking about what's going on in the overall markets and what we should be aware of as market participants. And again, guys, it's completely free, so there's no reason why you shouldn't sign up for that weekly insight. But with that said, let's go ahead and talk about some of the good news. And that is this tweet by Sora Merritt saying that Tesla is ready to restart production at its Giga Berlin factory. We have a quote from the plant manager saying that supply chains are intact again, parts are available in sufficient quantities to be able to restart completely, and a temporary production stop will not set Tesla back in the future ramp up of the factory. Now, of course, this is a positive catalyst, as we know that, in the past, recently, there were some issues in the Red Sea as far as transportation of, these ships. And so now that's starting to kind of fizzle out. And of course, that was something that was stifling the production at the Giga Berlin factory. But now we know that's going to be back in action February 12th, just a couple of days before Valentine's Day. And so this is absolutely good news, because the concern was, well, how long will this plant be shut down? It was estimated to be around 2 weeks, but of course there was always that uncertainty of perhaps could it be longer. But now we have the idea that it won't, and that things are getting back on track, and so that's definitely a positive for Tesla. Now, with that said, I want us to go ahead and hop into my laptop and take a look at Tesla stock from a technical perspective as well, because there are some things that I do want to kind of update us on about if you guys have been following the channel. So with that said, let's go ahead and hop into my laptop. Alrighty, so we are officially in my laptop taking a look at Tesla stock, and as promised, I want to go ahead and provide an update on where I'm at in terms of Tesla, taking a look at it from a technical perspective. But I want to start off this section of the video just highlighting that, Tesla stock by far is one of the most challenging stocks for many individuals to go ahead and project where the price action is going to be heading. And I'll go ahead in a moment cover why I believe that is. But pretty much, if you've been following this channel for a while now, we've been spot on, dead on the, pretty much price action direction for Tesla going forward. I mean, we pretty much nailed it back in 2022. 2023, we had it pretty close for, I would say, 98% of the time. I believe there were some times where it was just slightly off a bit. And then so far in 2023, this idea of moving sideways based on like a lot of volume relative to price around over here, which I'll go ahead and touch on going forward, pretty much accurate, right? And the reason why I believe I've had much more of an accuracy in predicting where I believe Tesla is going to be heading is because I use a confluence of different types of analysis, right? It's technical, fundamental, macro, catalyst news, such as the news that I talked about earlier today, and I combine it all together, working my way backwards. And one of the things is, a lot of people tend to just do one type of analysis and just stick to that, and just that's it, right? But one of the things you have to understand is no matter what analysis you do, it doesn't tell you where the price of a stock is going to go. For example, if you do technical analysis, let's say you're looking at technical indicators such as, the relative strength index or whatever indicator you want to put on the chart, right? It could say something's overvalued and you could still see a stock go up. Why? Well, that's because stocks don't have to just go down because it's overvalued by some type of indicator, right? Because at the end of the day, it's all about capital coming in and coming out. And Tesla, one of the things that it's difficult for Wall Street to kind of analyze is because they take, a traditional view on it by doing fundamental analysis, specifically like applying discounted cash flow models on it. And by that model, Tesla is severely overvalued, right? Severely overvalued. And I admit that from a fundamental perspective, Tesla is severely, seriously overvalued. But one of the interesting things about Tesla, and I mean, if you go ahead and you look at the, fundamentals yourself, right? Not a lot of people know how to do that, but you could simply just teach yourself how to do it. It's not that hard. You look at the statement of operations, the income statement, the balance sheets, statement of cash flow. Tesla has a healthy balance sheet, and it's much more healthier than a lot of its competitors in the auto industry. And so that's one of the plus benefits of Tesla from a fundamental standpoint, but it makes it a lot more challenging, right? And so one of the things now, kind of going into the technical part of this video, I kind of went on a mini rant saying why Tesla's challenging. But one of the things I've been saying is, hey, Tesla's moving sideways, right? There's a lot of volume relative to price. And I didn't buy the minute Tesla hit 180 this day, right? I remember everyone was like, oh, this was the bottom. I said, look, I want to wait. And I'm still waiting. And that's fine. I'm still patiently waiting. I'm not missing out on anything, as we've been in this kind of consolidated phase, right? If you bought, that's fine. Of course, you should always do whatever you see value in. Just don't follow whatever I do, right? I'm just someone that talks about my perspective and my views on the markets, just like everyone else. And again, you shouldn't copy what I do. But we're pretty much just bouncing from, here to here to here to here. And it's not
any actual action of any substance, right? We're still not making any strong moves. And again, that's because I believe that we're in this area where there's a lot of volume relative to price. There's exchanging between the buyers and the sellers. And we're still trying to find discover that price where Tesla is going to be heading. And so I've been kind of sharing my bull and bear case, saying my bear case is, well, if Tesla falls down, which it did the other day, it fell down, to even 175 at one point, but then quickly you see this wick, the tail on the candle bounce up with a lot of volume over here relative to time. So that means the buyer stepped in and we're like, no, 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 we don't like it at that price, right? So capital flowed in. But I've been saying from a bear perspective, if Tesla falls down, well, then I'll be waiting until that 145 area. I've been very firm on that. I haven't been flip-flopping around. I'm still, waiting to see if that happens. But of course, that doesn't mean it has to happen. I know in the previous video I shared that, and someone was like, oh, you're crazy to think it's going to fall down, right? And that's true, right? Tesla doesn't need to fall down to this area. We could very well start heading upwards, but I'm not buying just yet, right? We still haven't had that confirmation of an uptrend. And one of the things I often share is that you don't want to just buy any random dip, right? You always hear that generic term, oh, just buy the dip. But I always say the dip can always get dippier. And again, you don't want to catch a falling knife. And so we're still in this consolidated phase where things are moving sideways. Now, there is that possibility that we may start getting close to that area that I've been wanting to see, and that area is around that $204 area. I've been saying, look, if Tesla can start heading up to that area and show that sign of that confirmation around over here, then I'll add more into my long-term portfolio. I'm still waiting for that to take place, that confirmation, but until then, I'm still not sure of the direction of the price. I don't have a crystal ball, right? And I don't ever claim to. And so that's why I've been patient. And, pretty much we've been seeing, I've been sitting on my hands, and I didn't buy, when it was heading upwards. I know all the individuals that, you see on X.com or YouTube, when they said that 180 was the bottom, a couple of days later when it started going to 195, they're like, see, I told you so. And then a few days later, they had to end up eating their own words, right? And so, again, I'm not trying to jump into any conclusions. I'm just here looking at what's taking place. And right now, we're not doing anything major. But we did have that positive news about Giga Berlin. We do see, okay, Tesla did have some price cuts in Canada. That is bad. But we're also hearing the news of possible trimmings for the company. Now, again, that is not good, right? In terms of the people working for Tesla. I don't want anyone to lose their job, but the reality is Wall Street likes that. And so right now it's just a rumor that Elon Musk is doing layoffs. But if we do hear confirmation, like actual real updates that there are layoffs from Tesla pretty soon, or not, if we do hear that take place is what I'm trying to say, that will be a positive catalyst. And that could definitely push Tesla stock upwards. And so that's why we're going to go ahead and continue monitoring that. Of course, we'll definitely have to hear. It's just a rumor at the moment. It's not confirmed that Elon Musk is going to fire anyone or lay people off. But it would make sense. We're seeing that from a lot of companies start trimming. And so we are at these areas where if that news came pretty soon, well, there's this volume gap over here relative to the price, volume relative to price. And that could definitely easily push Tesla stock upward to that area that I'm looking for. So again, I don't want anyone to lose their job, of course, but I'm just saying if that does happen, there is confirmation and Tesla starts moving up, that's going to be the trigger for me to buy more into my long-term portfolio. Again, that's just my personal view on Tesla, not something you have to mimic, right? Now, in terms of trading Tesla, because I also trade, and within the Push and Profit private group, I share my trade ideas. And recently, I have not been trading Tesla. I'm going to be honest. I haven't been trading it, right? I'm still eyeing it because it's one of the few individual stocks I have in my long-term portfolio. You guys have to remember, I'm not a stock picker. I'm more of a, index guy, right? ETF, I got mostly, Vanguard, S&P 500, the NASDAQ, with the low expense ratio, which is QQQM, a few, bond ETFs, very, very, diverse guy. I'm not a real big stock picker. Tesla is one of those individual stocks, and it's kind of the reason why my long-term portfolio it's doing great for the year. It's honestly because I don't know if I've shared it publicly on this channel. I know I might have said it only for those within the Push and Profit private group, but Spotify is something I have in my long-term account, and I mean I got it. I forgot exactly when, but pretty much it's up over 50% since when I added it to the portfolio, and we do have earnings for Spotify coming soon. There's some other stocks I'm eyeing, such as Hershey chocolates, right? We're going to be looking at that. I think from a technical standpoint, it's looking attractive, but of course, I need to look at the fundamentals. I don't just say, oh, okay, look, it looks oversold over here. But the point is, and I know I'll go off tangents sometimes, the point is we're monitoring Tesla because if there's any, just a little sprinkle more of positive catalyst news, that could take us exactly where we need to go, and for me to go ahead and pile on. And I'm sure there's tons of other investors out there who are probably looking at the same things I'm looking at. They're probably noticing the sideways action, and they're probably saying, hey, any more positive news this thing pops up, we'll go ahead and add in. And of course, that buying pressure could be exactly what we need for Tesla stock to continue going up. I mean, the rest of the stocks in the Magnificent Seven have been doing tremendously well. I mean, just look at Nvidia. We know Nancy Pelosi is just, living it up right now. I mean, Nvidia continues to go up higher, while, Tesla is pretty much the stepchild right now of the Magnificent Seven. And so, just watching that out. But that's just my view on Tesla. You guys let me know in the comment section down below. What are your thoughts? Do you think it's likely that we could still hit the 145, or do you think we're just that few pieces of news away from going back into a decent area? But you guys let me know. But before you guys go, also check out this next video right over here, where I talk about line charts, and I'll see you guys on that next video. Take care, guys.